Sports Podcast. I am Elijah along with Braden. Psych. Braden's not here. Hayden is, though. Sad that Braden isn't here, but not as sad as the Tennessee Titans were this past weekend against the New York Jets. Let's get into it. I know Hayden is sad. I'm sad. We're all sad.
I don't even want to be here. Do a podcast by yourself.
The Titans they always do this.
What did I say last week? Elijah, what did I say last week? That this
I said I did not feel good about it.
This is last year's Bengals game. You know what's even worse? I know you got a whole thing, but now I'm on a...
Go ahead.
We got the same thing next week. Except
same thing. Rookie
Trevor
quarterback.
Lawrence is better than Zach Wilson.
Yep.
It's the same thing. Oh, if we lose to two winless teams in a row, I'm gonna kill myself.
But the Jags do have Urban Meyer, so that gives me hope for us. We'll talk about that later.
Let's talk about Urban Meyer.
We'll talk about it in a minute. As far as content,
I can't wait.
As far as content, you can't get any better than this story.
So before, yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead.
We'll talk about the Jets real quick. Obviously, wide receiver was a huge issue. Obviously, a lot of Titans fans were, we don't need AJ and Julio, which I do think that they were held out. Like, as far as injuries go, I don't think it was like we can beat this team. We'll sit them. I think they actually were injured and needed the week off. Julio hasn't practiced all week. AJ has. AJ's the one where I'm like, could he have gone on Sunday? Because he looks fine in practice.
Opposite. I thought Julio might have been.
Yeah, but Julio hasn't practiced at all this week, and AJ has.
When does Julio ever practice?
That's true. There were a few routes here and there where the wide receiver just got open, but for the most part, like Tannehill was thrown into very narrow windows all game.
So Tannehill was sacked 7 times. And the line obviously didn't play well because anytime you're sacked 7 times, it's bad. But throughout the game, I kept telling myself he does not trust his receivers.
Yeah,
and I mean,
because some of it he would previously, like when he's got AJ and even like Corey Davis, like he was like, all right, they're not out of their break yet, but I'm about to get dropped,
and so this bitch.
I'm tossing this thing, and I'm trusting that they're open.
Yeah.
And sometimes it worked out and sometimes it didn't. But, when you roll Chester Rogers, Nick Westbrook-Akina, Josh Reynolds, no disrespect to those guys. Yeah. Those are NFL players. They're among the top 1% in their job.
Right.
But they're not A.J. Brown and Julio Jones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
you could tell that they were missed. That's not the exact reason why we lost the game, but...
I think it had a lot to do with it.
It was a, one-score game from tying. So.
Yeah. Well... And you look at the first 3 drives, the Titans get the ball, and they should be going up like 21-0, but they can't get anything done in the red zone because New York was able to stack the box in the red zone, kind of contain Derrick Henry, and instead of punching it in for 6, we had to settle for field goals on 3 straight possessions. 2 were 3-and-outs, and the third one was the Zach Wilson pick, I think, when Corey slipped. But it just... I think that was the glaring need because if you're up 21-0, the game is over in the second quarter.
Right.
I mean, effectively, usually. Like it's
unless you're the Texans playing Patrick Mahomes.
We would have won the Super Bowl if they had won that game. I mean, that's just what
Oh,
you made me even more sad.
Well, how can you make the Texans blowing a huge lead into something sad?
Because we would have won the Super Bowl. We would have beat them soundly. Anyways, I just thought that AJ and Julio not being there, you look at Derrick Henry's numbers, it's like, oh, well, Derrick Henry got his. Well, yeah, but not in the red zone because there wasn't a threat of passing the ball. Yeah, like you said, 7 sacks against Tannehill. Some of those I think were definitely O-line. I think some of those were... I think Robert Saleh had a good defensive game plan, and I think they have a pretty good defense.
Yeah. It's not. We didn't really talk about it, but it's not something I looked over. Was that the Jets legitimately have a good defense?
Sure,
it's not like crazy, Rams,
Bucks,
defense,
Steelers.
but it's a good defense.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think he schemed up really well. CJ Mosley had a good game. I still couldn't name any of their cornerbacks.
Doesn't matter. They killed us. Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, like, all they had to do was be sticky coverage, and we just didn't take those shots like we normally did.
And if you don't, I mean, I get that, like, Chester Rogers is, he's good. He's fine. Mm-hmm. He's a good, like, fourth option, maybe third.
I think he's third right now. I mean,
yeah, he's ahead of Reynolds, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the dude was a healthy scratch the other day.
Yeah. And Cam Batson, I mean, he's whatever. Like, he's Cam Batson. He's fine. Something that I took away after the game on Sunday was a lot of positions that they needed help in on Sunday, I think goes back to the front office. And this isn't me saying, like, J-Rob's on the hot seat, even though, him and Vrabel's contract run through next year. I don't think either of them are really on the hot seat right now. Yeah. That could change by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. But every glaring need that you had in that game, you had a chance, obviously, to upgrade in the draft, and they tried, and they whiffed, it seems like. As of right now, Dylan Radence, Caleb Farley, Elijah Molden can all become really good players, but as of right now, those guys aren't helping you. Radence was a healthy scratch. The only time he's been active this year is when Lawan went out before the Seattle game. That's the only time he's been active because they needed a body, essentially. Yeah. And you drafted him in the second round, and you took Farley in the first. I think, it's injuries are injuries, and you can't control that. But it doesn't seem like Radence is hurt right now, and the only reason he's not playing is because he's not good enough right now.
Yeah. And that's kind of what you expected-ish with him.
You knew he was going to be a little bit of a project.
Once those, like, first guys come off the board and when it comes to O-line, it's guys who probably aren't drafted to be your immediate starters.
Sure. And he was a second-round pick.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think after the top-tier guys go in the first round, it's kind of guys that played at small schools, which Radence did. He played at North Dakota State. Mm-hmm. Or guys like Trey Smith that there's a question mark for whatever reason on their draft status. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, every week I'm like, we could have taken Trey Smith. We could have taken Trey Smith. And it just infuriates me.
I think that when you look at this line, I think next year is going to be dramatically different.
Yeah, I think Lawan right now is on the chopping block. I think I've seen everything that you can pretty much cut him after this year, and you've already paid him a good chunk of his contract, and like basically his next year is voidable.
Yeah, it sucks because I don't want him to be.
Yeah, and he's been good, and he's been good for Nashville.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So Lawan is like on this, on the edge of possibly being cut or dealt with and somehow killed. That's the way it sounded like I was going to say.
It did.
I think Saffold, he gets injured basically he comes out every game. And
when he's healthy, he's obviously a very good left guard.
Yeah.
Don't get that twisted.
Yeah.
But if you can't stay on the field.
Yeah. And so I could see him being gone. Ben Jones is kind of in the same area as Saffold. Yeah. I think if anyone has a chance to stick around, it would be Ben Jones for another year or two.
Especially because I feel like good centers don't just like appear.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think you kind of have to draft one of those guys.
Nate Davis, I think he's safe. He's safe.
He's a very good right guard.
Until his contract is up and either we sign him or we don't. And then we don't even know who our current right tackle is. Quessenberry?
No, thanks.
Yeah, so potentially 4 out of 5 starters on our offensive line will be gone. Probably 3.
Yeah. So Caleb Farley is practiced all this week. Radence obviously is practiced all this week. He's not hurt. Tell me what you think about this. After the game, I thought, you know what? Play Farley and Radence, and we'll live with it.
Definitely with Farley. I mean, once he's healthy, get him on the field. It's like you see what happens with Jackrabbit, right? And
his name's Janoris right now.
Right. When he's on skates, falling over on the field all the time.
He's Janoris. He's not Jackrabbit right now.
when you see what happens with him, you're like, well, I mean, it's not great. Obviously, it's not great. It's not the worst with him. Like, he's not Parrish Cox 2.0, like some people are saying.
Or Valentimo.
Or Cody Sensabaugh.
Bryce McCain.
Let's just start naming off all of our
There's so much PTSD from
Bleedy
old
Ray
corners.
Wilson.
Good gosh.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, man. It's not to that level, but it's not what we need.
He's not a number one corner right now.
Yeah.
Like, Christian Fulton is the number one corner.
And it also sucks because I saw Christian Fulton get beat a couple times this past week.
I think part of that, too, like we say on this podcast every week, we're not football experts.
Yeah. Well,
I read a lot of what other people say, and a lot of people were saying that when Chris Jackson went out, who's the slot corner, they moved Fulton inside, and I'm like, dude, bring in Elijah Molden.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you drafted him for.
Yeah.
He looked good in the preseason. He must be in the doghouse or something, because I'm like, dude, like, he had a really good preseason. I get that it's preseason, but in joint practices, you know, he's going up against, like, Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown. Yeah. Like, if he can pick off Tom Brady in one-on-ones, like, surely he's earned some reps somewhere. But
yeah, I don't know what caused it, but was it the I think it's Seahawks? He got burned a couple times.
Well, in the Seahawks game, like, Tyler Lockett burned him, but it's like, okay, who is guarding Tyler Lockett right now?
Right.
You know, like, he just beat down the Rams secondary just a minute ago, and the Rams have a really good secondary. So it's like, okay, well, and the only reason that play looked worse than it was is because McDougal, like, whiffed on his help assignment.
Got cut.
Yeah, got cut immediately. Didn't play the rest of the game.
Yes, we are watching the Thursday Night Football game again.
Obviously, the front office should have upgraded at offensive line, DB, and in my opinion, I think tight end is kind of a glaring need right now. First of all, I don't understand why Jeff Swaim is starting over Michael Pruitt, because I think Pruitt's looked pretty good. I think he's had some explosive plays. It's not like Jonnu, but it's not catches the ball and he gets tackled so quick because he's so slow. Like, Pruitt has a little bit of speed to him. So I'm like, well, you know, you could have gotten a tight end pretty cheap, in my opinion. So, injury report this week, obviously concerning.
21. And now it's like 23 today because they stay on the list.
Yeah.
When they're full.
And some of them were full participation, but still. Out of how many? 53?
Yeah.
It's like 40-something%.
Jeez.
Not great. Dylan Radins might have to play.
I actually have it.
Read it off.
Let's see. I can put it up here. Ta-da. Look at that. And then
this
right here. Boop.
Yeah, Aaron Brewer, Jayon, Tommy Hudson, Julio, Brett Kern, Lawan, Racy McMath, Westbrook Akina, Danico Autry, Kari Blasingame, A.J. Brown, Bud Dupree, Rashawn Evans, Shreve Finch, Chris Jackson, Ben Jones, Jeremy McNichols, Roger Saffold, Jeffrey Simmons, Caleb Farley, Tierra Tart, Derrick Henry, Ty Sambrelo.
And so obviously today it's looking a lot better because a lot of the guys are full. But when this came out yesterday and you had 21 all limited or out, except for Caleb and
Farley
Tierra.
and Tart, yeah.
So when you had 19 players that are limited or out,
or did not practice,
you're
not
like,
out of the game on Sunday.
Yeah. You're like, what?
You're like, that does not seem very good.
Oh, now it's just 8.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Oh, man.
So one thing that I kind of drew from that, Jayon is, like, I think we might have seen. Do you think we've seen the end of Jayon in the Titans? He's on a 3-year deal, but it's basically a 1-year deal.
That voidable stuff.
Yeah. So it's 3 years with 2 years voidable after this year. So essentially, he's a free agent after this year. And, you know, Jayon has played some really good games for the Titans, but David Long is starting over him right now, and it seems like I think I heard sprained MCL.
Yeah,
for Jayon.
I didn't really hear anything.
And so I think we might have seen the last of Jayon. I mean, hopefully not. Maybe not. Maybe that's a little too reactionary. But If Jayon does get healthy, I would really love to see them start David Long and Jayon next to each other at inside linebacker.
Yeah,
I know. Obviously,
have we seen that at all? Like for an extended amount of time?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
because I think they love Evans as like the run stuffer, but he's been horrible.
Yeah.
He has not been very good at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get that, like, you want that run stuffer, but, like, okay, if it's 3rd and inches and they're about to go in for a touchdown, run him onto the field and let him, run his head through the brick wall and try to make a play. But especially with the league is as it is right now, like, I feel like you need 2 inside linebackers that can cover, which Rashaan Evans cannot do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's going to make like maybe $5 million on his next contract for a year.
Yeah. With the New York Giants calling it here first, folks. Going to the Giants. We're all
saucy.
Ex-Titans defensive players that seem to go.
Another thing, Bud Dupree talked to the media today. He says that he rushed back from his ACL. He kind of let pride get in the way, which I think is kind of like, I don't know, that's kind of refreshing to hear because Vrabel's so hush-hush on injuries.
Yeah.
That, Bud Dupree was on the sideline. He was a healthy scratch. Well, not a healthy scratch, but he dressed for the Seahawks game, right?
The Colts game.
The Colts game. Yeah. Colts game, and then just didn't play at all. Was on the sideline in full uniform.
You said he was there for, like, emergency.
Yeah. So then he, is inactive on Sunday against the Jets, and so he comes out and says, like, hey, I probably rushed back from ACL. And it's like, oh, wow. I couldn't. I mean, he probably got reprimanded.
I think that's what I suspected when he just suddenly didn't play. So now the question is, when does he play?
He was full participation today at practice on Thursday. So we'll see. I wouldn't think he dresses this weekend, but I've been wrong.
Yeah, it's tough because, God, do I want to see him out there. A healthy Bud Dupree.
Oh, man.
Like, I want to see it
across
so bad.
from Harold Landry, who's had an amazing start to the season.
He's like first or second in QB
he's
pressures.
First in quarterback pressures. And the other 2 guys is like Myles Garrett and I think Joey Bosa.
Right.
Pretty good list right there.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's be healthy.
Yeah. What's healthy? Never heard of her.
No. The Jags have 4 players on there.
I saw someone make a mock injury report, and it was Urban Meyer.
Can we transition now?
So we'll talk about Urban Meyer now.
Yes! So
what an absolute train wreck. This is an absolute mess.
So obviously Braden couldn't be here tonight because he's working, and so we were like, maybe not do the podcast this week. And then I'm like, guys, we gotta do the podcast this week because we have to talk about Urban Meyer.
Okay, so if you missed it, which you definitely didn't, Urban Meyer caught on video. He's kind of sitting in a bar stool, and a girl is grinding on him in a bar. I don't think it's a club. I think it's just a bar with music.
Yeah, like a restaurant. Maybe like a restaurant with a bar.
And he's definitely not stopping her. And you kind of like see his hand kind of like in between his legs, and you're like, oh, I don't know what that hand's doing. Alternate angle comes out. Love that it was called an alternate angle. Like we were reviewing whether or not it was a catch or not. And Urban
does he get it in? Does he get it in?
Good question. Urban was getting a little handsy.
A little finger butt-y.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is this a PG-rated podcast? It's the internet.
It was pretty...
He put a finger in her butt while she was wearing pants, so...
Indeed.
Yeah.
And then it comes out... Well, and the way that everyone saw that was like... Someone had videoed it, and then the girl that was dancing with Urban put something on her own Snapchat that said, like, why does someone have a video of Urban sticking his finger up my butt? Which is like, whoa. So I do not think that this was like well, first of all, I don't think it's an isolated incident. I think this probably happens all the time in the comfort of like a private part of a club. First of all, evidently it is very unlike any coach in the NFL to not fly back with his team after a Thursday night game. So Urban Meyer,
that was the biggest thing.
Yeah, so Urban Meyer, they play in Cincinnati on Thursday night, last Thursday. They lose, and he's like, boys, I know y'all probably would like to go out with me, hang out, let loose. Y'all fly back to Jacksonville, a dump of a place. I'm going to stay here in Cincinnati, an even dumpier place. He probably went to Columbus, I would guess. Evidently said he was...
Dublin is what it's called, wherever that is, right?
I was hanging out with my grandkids. Okay, where are ya? Where are ya?
Was she your grandkid?
Well, and the worst thing, a really bad part, I wish I'd have sent this to you, but a bad part of this whole thing was one of his buddies was look who's in town. So glad we got to see Urban. And then Urban's wife responded to the tweet and was yeah, and I'm over here babysitting. And it was a picture of the grandkids. And I was it kind of made me sad for his wife. But then I thought,
heard she's crazy. Is she crazy? I've heard
to be married to Urban Meyer, you gotta be.
It's not her fault. She's married to Urban Meyer.
I think she probably knows that Urban Meyer goes around doing this, and she doesn't care.
I mean, so the biggest thing is one, you got caught. So dumb thing number one, you got caught. Another thing, I feel like, and this is me giving no benefit of the doubt to NFL coaches, a lot of them probably have side chicks that I mean,
I would guess most coaches college and above, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard.
There's always been rumors about Lane Kiffin.
If we went down a list and said side chick or no, and
could be a good segment next week.
It could be. Nobody wants to say their own coach Vrabel would never do that. And I don't think he would. I don't know, because he's got kids and...
But also, so does Urban Meyer.
But anyways...
And also, we don't know these guys personally, so...
Exactly. It's hard to do that when you don't know them. But, so...
But I think if anyone saw Urban Meyer and, any informed college or NFL fan, you're would Urban Meyer, sleep around? You'd be oh, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sure.
And that's my point is that I'm not surprised that it happened that he has a side chick, or potentially side. He had a one night side chick, and then he does that, because you hear about that crap all the time, just across sports and just life in general. What did surprise me was the whole not going back with your team. That's where I drew the line.
Yeah, that is not okay.
Don't do that. You go and you face that L with the rest of your team.
Well, and worst case scenario, this was over the weekend, right? On a Friday or Saturday or something?
Well, they played the Thursday night game, so some, so
over the weekend. Bro, fly back with your team and then take Shad Khan's jet
you got
to Ohio.
You played a Thursday night game. You got extra days.
Bro, literally every NFL player does that.
Yeah.
They fly back home to see their folks or go back to their college. A lot of them do that they go back to their college to watch their college alma mater play, whatever. But bro, you got to fly back with your team.
Yeah.
And if someone would have gone to Urban Meyer, before the game, hey man, you care if I stick around? He would have been no, you're flying back with the team.
Yeah. At least he should, if he was a good coach.
So this is why I don't think it's an isolated incident / a coincidence.
Enhance.
There was this post on Facebook. Scroll up so we can see the text first.
Oh, yeah.
Someone put on here, huge thanks to these legends letting us crash their restaurant for a photo shoot last week with all these people. What is important is that at Cayman, Nebraska.
We're doxing this girl right now.
I don't care.
It's a good
She's
thing nobody.
Private. She's private on all social media now.
It's a good thing that nobody watches this podcast.
Yeah.
Woof.
Whatever. I don't care. So I'm gonna we're gonna call it how I see it. But Cayman, Nebraska is the girl. Scroll down for me, Hayden.
Urban hot or not? Well determined hot.
She thinks hot. This is the girl allegedly in question of said video.
It looks like her. She's a blonde woman.
And she's now private on all platforms as taking down her LinkedIn. And I'm okay, I get that, like, you don't want to be known as the girl that grinded with Urban Meyer. Similar to, like, Monica Lewinsky's career was probably ruined after the whole Bill Clinton thing. But, like...
I mean, kind of. That
all publicity's good.
Exactly.
Publicity.
Like, she could write a book and make $1 million and everyone would read it.
Yeah.
The night I lap danced.
The night I spent with Urban. So this makes me think...
One night in Urban.
Out in an urban area.
Urban in the city. I don't know. There's something there.
And so I think he obviously knew her. Obviously some NFL coaches in general, they probably meet a lot of people and don't remember. I happen to think Urban probably remembered her.
Wait, so her name
her last name is Nebraska from what I understand.
So her name is allegedly, this is all alleged, Cayman, Nebraska.
Her parents messed up.
That's a Hollywood name. What are you talking about? What did you go see the new Cayman, Nebraska?
Like Monica
movie?
Lewinsky, Cayman, Nebraska. Those just roll off the tongue.
It's a city and a state.
Cayman, Nebraska.
There's probably a real Cayman, Nebraska.
Literally translates to "We'll give you a lap dance in a bar."
It's either a stripper name or a Hollywood name. There's no in between.
So, obviously, this is a big issue for multiple reasons. First of all, Urban doesn't fly back with his team.
Yep.
Second of all, he goes out partying. He says, like, oh, I should have, as soon as they, my friends dragged me on the dance floor. Doesn't look like anybody was dragging you anywhere. Looks like you were sipping on old fashioned, and this girl came over and was like, hey, what's up? And you're like, oh, hey. She starts dancing near you, and you're like, hey, let me get a piece of that. She comes over beside you. It doesn't look like it just happened to happen.
So hold on.
All
right.
Another issue, the apology.
Yeah.
Not an apology. Not anywhere close to an apology. He basically says, I was put in a bad situation by my friends. Jerk.
Threw them
also,
under the bus.
I tweeted this at Elijah_Wilson_.
Plug it.
If me and you went out to a bar, which we have been before.
Have I?
Yeah. In Nashville. We've been out to a bar.
I'm sure I've been
No, we have. I mean, like, we don't have to get into this because of, like, exes and whatnot.
We went with a bar with a girl?
Yeah. With Chipper.
Dog, I'm so lost.
It's okay.
I'm so
it
lost.
But
all right, I was there.
If I was out on the dance floor dancing with anyone but my girl, you'd be like, dude, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you would snatch my soul out of my body.
Either he's throwing his friends under the bus,
or he has horrible friends.
Or he's just lying. Or he has terrible friends.
Which probably all are also all are true. D. All of the above.
Bad friends, throwing them under the bus, and lying.
So he says, yeah, I got put in a bad situation, should have left, whatever. Not a great look, obviously. So then in the apology, he says, yeah, this is, just like what happened with Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, he told me he wanted to go to his bachelor party in Vegas.
Wait, I did not hear this.
Yeah, in the apology, he was like, yeah, I told Trevor. Trevor told me he wanted to go on his bachelor party to Vegas with some of his friends, and I told him, man, God, you got to be so careful. First of all, like, this is the first I had heard of Trevor Lawrence going to Vegas. Trevor Lawrence, I feel like I'm pretty plugged into Twitter, Instagram, whatnot. I feel like I would have known that.
Okay.
I don't think anyone, and from what I've heard, podcasts, whatnot, no one knew that Trevor Lawrence went to Vegas for his bachelor party.
When was the bachelor party?
So he got married before the draft, I believe. So he either Urban's lying and he went before, which most people go on their bachelor party before the wedding.
Uh-huh.
Trevor wouldn't have called Urban and been like, hey, just so you know I don't work for you yet, but I'm going to Vegas for my bachelor party. So I think Urban's lying about that too. I think that Trevor probably did go.
Yeah. So he was like I don't understand. I didn't hear that part. That he whatever it is, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, and like you're throwing your starting quarterback under the bus for something that does not concern you. That is literally none of your business.
I might have got a lap dance and put my finger up the bum of some co-ed, but Trevor Lawrence went to Vegas. All right, I'm the good guy here.
And might not have done anything nefarious or illegal. Like, probably went and played blackjack. Like, from everything I've seen, Trevor Lawrence is a stand-up dude. Like, loves the Lord, everything like that. But
do you have to be 21 to gamble?
I think so.
So he didn't. Wait,
he's 21.
No, never mind. I forget. Sometimes I forget that you're not 18 when you come out of high school. When you come out of college.
So. And then obviously, like, Jags put out a press release, you know, it's lip service, like, but they did say, like, Urban's going to have to regain our trust. And I'm like, oh, so y'all definitely don't trust him. Like, so why is he your coach still?
Yeah.
This goes back. Urban Meyer's had so many questionable decisions. We can try and name them a few. When Aaron Hernandez was at Florida.
We're going back.
We're going back. When Aaron Hernandez was at Florida, there was a hit and run. Aaron Hernandez was named as a person of interest. Nothing ever happened with it.
Mm-hmm.
Never suspended. He was never formally charged, but was a person of interest, and then the charges were dropped. In a football town like Gainesville, I have a hard time believing that Urban Meyer didn't have something to do with that. Then the Ohio State thing, he kept, and that was like, Florida carryover to Ohio State, where he kept a domestic abuser on his staff for over a decade. Nothing happens. Like, basically, the wife, Courtney Smith was her name. Zach Smith was the coach. She had texted Shelly Meyer. And so I don't, like, really trust Shelly Meyer's judgment either, because, like, she texted her all this stuff and, like, says that Urban never knew. And I'm like, all right, well, sounds like Shelly Meyer's not a great person either. Mm-hmm. If this girl's texting her saying, like, hey, my husband's beating the absolute hell out of me, and here's the pictures. And Shelly Meyer's like, oh, okay, well, you know, there's this person right here that could do so many things about it, but he's not. And then gets hired on as the Jags coach, hires a guy that had just resigned from Iowa for allegedly making racist comments towards players. And then, like, there are plenty of, like,
Iowa
questionable. We'll get to it.
Not yet.
Not yet. Because Iowa has a big game. Iowa has a big game. So we won't do it yet. Iowa deserves enough more time than this right here in the middle of our Urban Meyer segment.
Oh, yes, it does.
So, just to name off a few, like, things Urban Meyer's done, like, as the Jags coach, hires strength and conditioning coach who had just resigned at Iowa. He drafts a running back in the first round, even though he just had a rookie undrafted guy go over 1,000 yards rushing his first year. Basically says that he cut guys because of the vaccine status, which doesn't matter what you think about the vaccine. You're not supposed to do that as of right now. And the NFL has said, like, hey, you can't do that. So it just questionable stuff all around. This is obviously the latest. I think if they get beat by the Titans by 30 or more, I think he gets fired on Monday.
Well, let's beat him by 23 then.
Because you want to keep Urban Meyer around?
He's entertaining. What can I say? He put a finger up the bum of some co-ed at a bar.
I don't think she's a... What's a... I don't know. Define co-ed.
I think college... Well,
she's not in college.
College education. I know, but it's funnier if you say it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all for laughs.
Some other NFL notes. We'll move along to some other NFL notes. Well, so if the Titans don't win this week, like, blow it up, yeah?
Well, I'm going to blow something up.
Yeah.
And it's going to be my brains if that happens.
I'm going to have to edit that out. I'm going to have to beat that out. So, Justin Fields starting now. Woo. I saw someone tweet, they're like, if Justin Fields becomes a perennial Pro Bowl, all-pro player, like generational quarterback, super good, leads his team to the playoffs all the time, we're going to look back and say, wow, that game and a half behind Andy Dalton really mattered, huh?
I still think that Andy Dalton should start if he's healthy.
You're an idiot.
I like Andy Dalton.
I'll fire you into the sun along with Matt Nagy.
Well, listen here. All right.
Matt Nagy has to be like, he's going to be fired probably. Unless they make the playoffs, which he probably won't.
I don't have Allen Robinson on any fantasy teams, but I would like Allen Robinson to be successful, and I don't know if Justin Fields is the guy to do that.
He's obvious. I mean, the ball's going to get spread around more, so that's good, right?
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. We'll see who's right about Andy Dalton. We'll find out who's right.
I think it's like pretty much confirmed now. Chargers seem to be very good. They beat the Raiders on Monday Night Football. I think they got to be the favorites in their division right now. Vegas might not say that, but they have a better record than the Chiefs. They have a head-to-head win against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. What do you think?
I can get down with that. I think that they're really, really good.
I mean, the only loss they had was to the Cowboys.
Cowboys, who are playing well.
Cowboys look like they're the favorites in their division right now.
Mm-hmm. It's as much as like it's kind of easy to hate on the Cowboys because we're America's team. I don't mind them being a little successful. It's all right with me.
I think it makes the NFL better. Truthfully,
I don't know about
not like better, but like I think it improves the overall product. I mean, like I get that it was funny for the memes and stuff last year, but like we had to watch one of the worst divisions of all time last year in the NFC East.
Pretty bad, but it gave rise to the Heineke, so we're cool.
Yeah, Stefan Gilmore, that was kind of weird. They announced basically that they're going to release him. He puts out like a parting, like "I'll miss you, New England. Thanks for everything." Wow, did the Buffalo Bills miss on him?
Yeah, sometimes I feel like at the time, I vaguely remember, he signed for a lot of money.
Yeah.
With the Patriots, and a lot of people were like, "Oh boy, Bill sees something. He sees something," and obviously he did.
Yeah, I mean, 2019 Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah,
pretty good. Mm-hmm. So he gets traded to the Panthers for a 6th-round pick.
Who also just traded for C.J. Henderson, right? Was that the guy?
I can't remember.
From the Jags.
Yeah. I couldn't remember if they did or not.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
It was definitely them. I just want to make sure I got the name right.
C.J. Henderson. That's right.
So,
who, like, Urban Meyer shouldn't have traded. Was, like, the 9th pick last year.
Yeah. And I guess there was some other stuff going on. Like, they had to, like, go to his house at one point.
Urban Meyer said that he talked to his parents. And it's like, why are you talking to a grown man's parents? Urban Meyer just thinks the NFL is college football.
I was gonna say he went back and recruited him.
Yeah,
that was what he did.
Hey, you sure you don't want to play?
It worked for like three games.
At first, I was like, dang, like Titans, all they would have given up was a 6th-round pick, but you're taking on his contract. Yeah, you're taking on a big salary, and he's also wanting even more money. Yeah. That's why them and the Pats couldn't get it done. But Pats kind of have a track record of this, letting players go maybe when they're in their prime because they don't want to pay them.
Yeah. Jamie Collins.
Is
he back?
Yeah, they just re-signed him yesterday. Louise. Chandler Jones, obviously, who, like, that one's like, oh, man, y'all probably should have kept him. Stefan Gilmore. Mike Vrabel back in the day. That's exactly what they did with Vrabel. They shipped Vrabel off to the Chiefs for a 1st-round pick.
Yeah. Was it really a 1st-round pick?
I think so.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. Vrabel's a stud.
Oh.
Who else did they... Randy Moss wanted a new contract, and they were basically like, no. I think that's how we got him, right?
Yeah, he got cut a few times, and we got him off waivers.
Yeah. Bills got to be the favorite in the AFC, right?
AFC, I would say, yeah. I've liked the Bills since last year.
They look more complete than anybody. Seems like their defense has kind of gotten on track, and like we know what Josh Allen is. He's a stud.
They just had that weird first game yips. It seems like against the Steelers.
Yeah, and I think like they played. Was that in Pittsburgh or in Buffalo?
I don't know.
But I think just first game of the season. It's like okay, you lost, but like. I think too many times we're like, oh, but like that week 1 game. It's like, okay, well, we're 4 weeks removed from that. Mm-hmm. So, like, yes, it matters to their record, but, like, that does not matter to who they are as a team right now.
To just make myself feel better, we could be saying, hopefully we're saying the same thing about week 4. Because 13 more games left. That's so much football.
That's a lot.
That's one more than last year.
When the Titans... kind of do that every year. So it's like, all right, well, it's like, I don't know. In my opinion, it's like kind of how you respond after that.
Yeah.
And all of the games that they shouldn't lose to are to rookie quarterbacks. Happened a couple years ago to Minshew. Happened to Burrow last year. Zach Wilson, and then like we played Trevor Lawrence this week.
Wait. So I got some bad news for you.
Oh no!
I got 2 stats for you that I read across the world this week. Stat 1: in the past 16 games, the Tennessee Titans are 8-8.
That's 500.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I personally don't like that.
Yeah,
because I feel like we're a better 8-8 team, and I think whenever you take stuff into context of the past X amount of games, 16 and now maybe 17 is a good gauge, because that's a season's worth of work, and it's not obviously you're missing context there, but I like that chunk. So I don't like that we're 8-8 the past 16 games. Stat number 2, you just mentioned that we lose against rookie quarterbacks. Mike Vrabel is 0-4 as a head coach against rookie quarterbacks.
If we lose this week to Trevor Lawrence in the Fighting Urban Meyer,
here's the problem.
Fingers.
Here's more issues. You ready for this? We play Trevor Lawrence twice. We play Davis Mills twice.
If we lose to Davis Mills with that long neck,
we play Mac Jones, and I think there's more.
Trey Lance, potentially
Trey Lance.
I don't want to.
It's rough, dude. We're playing these.
I don't feel great about. I mean, some of the like Trevor Lawrence, I'm like okay, but like Davis Mills, I'm like okay. Trey Lance, don't feel great about that. They have a good team, and as long as he's like above average, I think that they'll be fine. Arizona's got to be the favorite in the NFC, yeah.
I'd have to think about that. I think in their division, they're obviously the favorite.
Who would you have said the favorite was last week? Probably
in their division or in the
NFC?
NFC? Oh man, I probably would have. Yeah, I probably would have said the Rams. So
and they beat the Rams last week.
Yeah, pretty handedly too.
So I think they're not a flash in the pan. I'm interested to see what we do against, like what the Cardinals do the rest of the year, because I think Cliff Kingsbury has a knack for making like some pretty weird decisions in crunch
I had
time.
That on me that whole time.
And
just watch me scroll.
So I don't know. We'll see. But they look really good right now. So I'm gonna say that they are very good right now.
Yeah, and it's not. I wasn't a believer in the Cardinals, and you got to remember that last year they had a pretty wicked start too.
Yeah.
And then they lost.
They went like 8-8, right, or 7-9. I think actually
they went under 500. So
because the Bears beat them out for that last spot
before. Maybe before I say that. Yeah, they're the favorites. They kind of need to prove it to me.
But they beat the hell out of the Titans, and who else have they beaten? They beat the Rams last week, and like pretty soundly.
Yeah, and I know like I said,
17 or something?
Again, they lost out last year. So
now we're gonna move into a little bit of college football. You don't have to throw that up there just yet, but Tennessee beats Missouri, goes on the road, beats the absolute heck out of the Missouri Tigers. Quick trivia question: do you know who the Missouri Tigers defensive coordinator is that allowed 62 points?
Oh, snap.
We were just talking about his former team.
Oh, crap. I want to know.
Steve Wilkes,
Okay.
former head coach of the Arizona Cardinals that got fired after just 1 year.
Forgot about Steve Wilkes, man.
Yeah, me too. So Tennessee wins 62 to something. They just beat the crap out of Missouri. They got robbed at the end of the game. They could have had 69 points. So they win big.
Nice.
It was their first time scoring 60 plus in an SEC game since 2016. They did it in 2016 against Missouri Tigers. I looked back, and Josh Dobbs had like 260 yards passing and 190 yards rushing.
Jeez.
The last time.
Who did you say they played?
Missouri.
Oh.
In 2016.
Poor guys.
That was when Tennessee started like 5-0, and then they went on the road, played that was when they had the Hail Mary against Georgia. Mm-hmm. They beat Florida at home. Then they went on the road against A&M, lost against A&M. But that year they beat Missouri really bad.
The only sign of hope in the most recent seasons.
Yep. They play South Carolina Saturday, and they will debut the sick.
Oh, you did. I wasn't ready.
Right. Black jerseys.
Woo! Look at that.
Ooh, they look clean. What do you think as a non-really like Tennessee fan?
Well, so as a person
there's another
who's
picture
not really a Tennessee fan,
yeah, there's kind of a fool,
nor like a big uniform guy. My take on uniforms is, hey, looks cool. I'm a fan of that.
I think that's like, I wish Braden was here because he freaking loves jerseys.
He loves them.
Obviously,
when it first like announced it, he's like, yo, check this out.
Yeah.
And then we had small group yesterday, and I saw him. He's like, hey, did you see the jerseys, man? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, Hayden doesn't like jerseys that much. And I'm like, they're all right. But so I like them. I like I wouldn't want this to be my jersey.
Okay. You like as an alternate?
It's a great alternate. It's
like wear it once or twice a year.
Yeah. It's good. It's fun. It's like dressing all white for something.
Sure.
And it's very sleek. What time are they playing?
11. Oh, well, noon.
A noon game.
Noon Eastern, 11 Central.
And now it's not as cool to me anymore. If it was like a night game,
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think so. Lane Kiffin, obviously, maybe not obviously, but Lane Kiffin had Tennessee wear black jerseys for the first time ever in 2009 against South Carolina. So I think it was like kind of like let's wear them against South Carolina again. Yeah. They play Ole Miss next week, which Lane Kiffin is the coach of. And I think they didn't want to provide like, they're wearing black jerseys against us because I like debuted them. And they didn't want to like add fuel to the fire. Obviously, like when they probably planned this, they didn't know the time of the game. So I think the helmets are pretty sweet. So supposedly
that black is not typical.
Correct.
Okay.
They don't have the black stripe. They don't have the black outline that you can vaguely see around the block tee, and they don't have the black face mask.
Yeah, that's good. You can't say blackface on stream.
Black face mask. Per Jason Swain, who is a plugged in
Swain event.
Yep. Who's a plugged in radio guy in Knoxville, former Vol, VFL. He said that Tennessee was supposed to have black helmets, but they got delayed in shipping because of, I guess, COVID stuff.
Yeah, helmets are always the issue.
Yeah, and I do kind of like that. Like, I mean, I think I think all black would have been super sweet, but I think what they did with the helmet was really good. Like, I think if they would have left the white helmet, white face mask with the orange block tee, everybody would have been like, eh. But I think the helmet is really nice.
And this is me analyzing uniform, which I never do.
Hey, this is my buddy Chris Walker, Seawalk, wearing the jersey.
Okay.
Shout out Seawalk.
Cool. I think that had they put a little bit more accents of white, then the combination would have looked better. Because to me, it's just like black, bunch of white, ton of white. If it's I don't know.
But that's kind of how their normal jerseys are. Like, I mean, this is just like they put black on a jersey and it's the exact same as, because some people in their alternate jerseys, like the numbers are different and the trim's different. But this is like the exact jersey just with black and orange numbers instead of, I guess, the white jerseys with orange numbers. But I did see a couple mocks on Twitter of like an away throwback jersey that looked pretty sharp. So,
all right.
I think they'll bring back the smoky grays.
I'm cutting
at
it
some
off
point.
there. I can't do
enough.
more than just a few minutes. Of
some
uniform
college football notes for this weekend. Seems like Bama and Georgia are both going to get into the playoff. They've kind of just steamrolled everybody Everybody was like, oh, maybe Lane Kiffin can make it close against Alabama. It wasn't. I think Lane Kiffin likes calling plays too much. He just wanted to go for it on fourth down every play or every time they had the chance. They didn't get it hardly ever. Cincinnati beat Notre Dame. I'm glad Notre Dame's out of the conversation. I wonder if this does make a case for Cincinnati to get in the playoff because, you have like your Power 5 conferences, which is like SEC, Big 10, Pac-12, ACC, Big 12.
Yep.
And then the group of 5 is like the AAC, the American Conference USA Sun Belt. So like Memphis, Cincinnati, UCF, schools like that. Boise State.
Thank you for doing a college football for dummies.
You're welcome.
Need that.
So Cincinnati is a group of 5 team is what they call them. So they have a much harder road to get into the college football playoff. Luckily this year they had Notre Dame on the schedule. They went into South Bend and won, and nobody's won in South Bend since Georgia did in 2017. And they beat Indiana a few weeks ago. Indiana's not great, but it's still a win against a Power 5 team. Mm-hmm. So someone I actually saw had a really good idea, and they said what they should do is at the end of the season, get the 2 best group of 5 teams, then play each other on like the conference championship weekend, and one of those schools gets into the playoff.
That makes sense.
Or gets a chance into the playoff if they have a good enough record.
Are they expanding this year or potentially this year?
They are not expanding this year.
That makes me
potentially
sad.
next year, but after the whole news broke about Texas and OU joining the SEC, that kind of got tabled. That wasn't the expansion was most likely going to be next year or in 23. But I think it's kind of been tabled because of Texas and OU.
That makes me sad as an outside fan.
They really need – I think they need so much. Like we talked about it last week, like A&M lost. A&M lost again this past weekend, but A&M lost to Arkansas. And I was like, all right, well,
so it's over.
Yeah, moral victories at this point. But, like it's over kind of a thing. We can go try to win like, a Cotton Bowl or something. I don't know. Can't say cotton. Stanford beat Oregon in overtime. Oregon still has a chance to make the playoff if they can win out, do so convincingly. But they obviously can't drop another one. Florida and A&M both lose to SEC underdogs. Florida lost on the road to Kentucky, which I'm like kind of happy for Kentucky. I'm like, good. Like usually y'all just care about basketball, and I think Mark Stoops is going to be a hot name this coming offseason. I think he could get a bigger job, especially like if Lincoln Riley decided that he wanted to leave for the NFL, and Mark Stoops was like, oh, my brother used to coach at OU. I'll go there. Iowa and Penn State.
What?
Biggest. Hold on. Let me preview it.
No. This is Hayden's update.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Here we go. Update of the week. That's me. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Hayden's Iowa Hawkeyes update of the week. All right, Elijah, you want to know what happened the other day? So Friday night, I'm driving home from Wake. All right, and I get a text message in a group chat.
The absolute crap.
Stop. I get a text message from Braden. And you're in this group chat, and he said,
Hawkeye's not looking so good,
update of the week, not looking so good this week,
hey, not looking so good,
and I said, I'm driving home, and I said, oh no, we're playing an undefeated Maryland team, and that's not good. And so I look at the score, and it's like 7-3 at this point, and I'm like, that's not good. That we might be losing, right? So
not great, Bob.
I go home, and I get done with work. I'm covered in sweat. What do? I take a bath because I want to relax. Okay, so I take a bath. I want to relax, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I gotta check on my team. Because obviously, as a diehard Hawkeyes fan, and so I pull up YouTube TV. Thanks for sharing that with me. I don't feel like paying the full thing.
I mean,
it's great.
I appreciate your contribution.
Absolutely. It's not free, but it's less.
It's the family plan.
Less expensive.
It's the family
We're
plan.
Family.
Yeah.
Got a cousin, And so I pull it up, and what are they doing? They blowing him out of the water! Maryland, who the heck is Maryland? I ain't never heard of her!
Maryland!
They know! And so, what was that final score? You want to tell me, Elijah?
I don't know it.
Oh, it was like 53-1-10 or something like that. It wasn't even close. We just went, and I said, Brayden, who are you talking to here? Who are you talking to? And he's like, I'm sorry. All right.
If the season were to end right now, Hayden's Iowa Hawkeyes would be in the college football playoff.
So let me say this. Who's number 1 ranking? Who is it?
Alabama.
We all know. Alabama. Who's number 2? Doesn't matter, because number 3 is the Iowa Hawkeyes. And you know who we want? Do you know who we want?
Don't say it. No, don't say it.
What?
No!
Penn State, who we're playing this week, who's ranked number 4. We got to get through Penn State before we got to take on the number 1 guys. That's all I can really say about it.
I actually want to talk about this game. Don't do your.
I want the
Hawkeyes
singer.
Okay, so this is going to be a really good game. I think it'll be pretty low scoring. Iowa's defense is one of the best I've seen in a long time. Very opportunistic. They get turnovers all the time, and they play at home. So I think Iowa is going to end up winning this. I think they win by about 6. My prediction is 20-14.
My prediction, Elijah. My prediction for this game: 36.
Oh my!
Iowa Hawkeyes.
Oh my!
To 24.
Okay, you're gonna take the over.
I guess. I lost all my money. I'm not betting anymore. I didn't win in the die. I picked the Titans to win. It didn't work.
Didn't happen. Couple other notes. Bama travels to A&M.
Whoa.
Sorry.
That
was Hayden's Iowa Hawkeye update of the week.
Update of the week. That's me.
Pretty good production there.
It's gonna get. I already got ideas. I'm writing songs over here.
Bama travels to A&M this weekend. The only positive I can say about this game is that it's at A&M. Alabama's favored by 17.5. I took Alabama minus 17.5.
By the way, who is it? Georgia too?
Yeah, okay. I think so.
Good to know.
OU in Texas playing the Red River Showdown. You can't call it the Red River You can't call it the Red River Shootout anymore. You have to call it the Red River Showdown.
Are you for real?
Dead serious.
This society.
I think it'll be a pretty good game. I actually think Texas is going to win that one. Arkansas and Ole Miss play this weekend, and Georgia and Auburn. So a pretty good SEC slate. Sans A&M and Alabama, because that game is not going to be good at all. Anything you have to add, Hayden? Thank you, Urban Meyer, for giving us some content this week. Much appreciated.
Freaking kid.
We had a lot to talk about, but we got to talk about you because you are not that good of a person. So, from all of us here at the Summer Tree Sports Podcast, for Hayden, Brayden, and Elijah, we thank you, Urban Meyer. Hope you have a great week. Hey, let's break it down like the Jags. 1, 2, 3, grind!
Oh, that's right. You didn't tell me we were going to do that.
Have a great weekend, fellas.
Grind! Oh, I clicked the wrong one. Update of the week. That's me.